You know, when we talk about climate change, it's easy to picture things that feel really far away, like melting ice caps or polar bears. But what if I told you the real story is happening right here, right now? A huge new report just dropped, and it shows that for Malaysia, this isn't some problem for the future. It's an urgent child rights crisis, and it's unfolding as we speak.
Just to give you a sense of the stakes here, get this. Over 4,000 people needed medical treatment after just one incident of illegal chemical dumping, and a lot of them were kids. That's not just a number on a screen. That's a classroom, maybe several classrooms, full of children who were literally struggling to breathe. This is the human cost we're talking about.
And look, this isn't just about one-off incidents. The report makes it clear that we're looking at a pattern of risk that's threatening an entire generation. It really boils down to three main things: extreme, suffocating heat, bigger, more intense floods, and dangerous pollution. Let's dive into how each of these is putting the health, the education, and really the entire future of Malaysia's children on the line.
Okay, so let's break this down. First up, extreme heat. We're not just talking about a few hot days. Projections show that heat waves could happen up to 7 times more often than they used to. That's a huge deal for health. Then you've got floods. More rain means more school closures, families forced from their homes, and the spread of nasty waterborne diseases like leptospirosis. And finally, industrial pollution. As we just saw with Sungai Kim Kim, illegal dumping is creating these toxic hotspots right where kids are supposed to live and play.
So, that's the big picture. But to really understand what's going on, we have to zoom in. This report isn't just about data. It's filled with stories from communities that are living this every single day. So now we're going to look at 2 very different case studies that really show you the human side of all this.
Listen to this. This comes from a teacher on Pulau Gaya, an island village over in Sabah. For her and her students, climate change isn't some abstract idea. It's their daily life. It's unpredictable weather. It's the sea level literally rising around them. It's stronger waves. It shapes everything. So what does that actually look like day to day?
Well, you can see here how it creates this domino effect of risk. Because the island is so isolated, a child who gets sick during a storm might not be able to get to a doctor in time. Their homes? They're built on stilts right over the water, which leaves them totally exposed. And when the weather's too rough for their parents to go fishing, that means no money and maybe no food. You see? Every single environmental issue just adds another layer of danger for these kids.
Okay, now let's pivot. We're going from a community struggling with natural hazards to one dealing with a completely man-made disaster. Remember that number from the start? 4,000? Let's go back to the Sungai Kim Kim River and see exactly what happened there.
The really terrifying thing is just how fast this all went down. It all started when someone dumped almost 2.5 tons of chemical waste into the river. Almost right away, students started getting sick, nausea, dizziness, trouble breathing. And in less than a week, the government had to shut down over 100 schools. The one place that's supposed to be safe for kids suddenly became ground zero.
So what were these kids actually breathing? It wasn't just a bad smell. We're talking about a nasty chemical cocktail. Things like benzene, which is a known carcinogen, it causes cancer, acronitride, which can literally suffocate you, and others that mess with your nervous system. The danger here was invisible, and it came with huge long-term health risks, especially for kids whose bodies are still developing.
You hear these stories from Pulau Gaya and Sungai Kim Kim, and you just have to ask, why? Why is this happening? How can an entire community be so vulnerable? And how can a disaster like this escalate so quickly? Well, the report argues that the root of the problem is a totally disconnected system.
Which leads us to a really fundamental question, doesn't it? Are the laws we have on the books actually designed to protect our kids from these kinds of environmental threats? Do our policies even see the connection between a healthy planet and a healthy child?
Well, when the researchers analyzed the actual policies, what they found is pretty shocking. Get this. Environmental laws almost never, ever mention children. And on the flip side, child protection laws almost never mention the environment. It's like they exist in 2 completely separate universes, creating this massive blind spot, and these are the risks that are falling right through the cracks.
And here's what that blind spot looks like in the real world. You have environmental law, right? Its main job is to make sure factories are following the rules. It defines pollution based on acceptable levels, not on whether it's poisoning a kid. Then you have child protection law. It's focused on things like abuse and neglect. It's just not built to see a polluted river as a form of harm to a child. They are literally speaking 2 different languages.
So what happens when your laws are speaking different languages? You end up with what's supposed to be a national safety net to protect people. But because the different parts of the net aren't woven together, it's just full of massive, dangerous holes. And as we've already seen, it's our kids who are falling right through them.
Okay, so it all sounds pretty bleak, I know. But the good news is, this report doesn't just point out all the problems and leave it at that. It actually lays out a really clear path forward. It's all about connecting the dots and finally building a system that actually sees these threats and protects our kids from them.
The big idea here is something the report calls intersectoral synergy. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the concept is actually really simple. It just means getting the government departments for the environment, for health, for education, and for child welfare to stop working in their own little bubbles and actually start working together. So instead of having 4 separate safety nets, all with holes in them, you weave them into one strong, solid net with one single goal: keeping children safe. And in the real world, this comes down to 3 common sense steps. First, you have to write child health directly into environmental policy. That means when you're deciding on a new factory, you have to ask, how is this going to affect kids' health? Second, you have to unify the way things are run. Get the people whose job it is to protect kids into the room when environmental decisions are being made. It's crazy, but the report points out that the main agency for children isn't even on the Environmental Quality Council. And third, you need to create actual climate action plans that are built from the ground up to protect children specifically.
At the end of the day, this report makes it crystal clear that this isn't just about the environment. It's about the very foundation of the country's future. And it leaves us all with a really powerful question to think about. If the laws and the systems we're building today don't even connect to protect our own children, then what kind of future are we really protecting?